The preface of Influence by Robert Cialdini lays the foundation for the book by discussing how individuals are susceptible to being influenced by others, and how this is something that is present in every aspect of our lives. The author states that in order to become a skilled influencer, we must first understand the psychological principles that guide human behavior. The author further highlights that influence is a double-edged sword, as it can be used for both good and bad. The author's purpose in writing this book is to educate readers on the various tactics of influence and how to protect themselves from being manipulated by others. One of the key takeaways from the preface is that influence is an integral part of our lives, and we are constantly being influenced by others. By understanding the psychological principles that guide human behavior, we can become better equipped to defend ourselves against unwanted persuasion. Additionally, the author emphasizes the importance of using influence for ethical purposes, rather than manipulative ones. Chapter 1. Levers of Influence, Power, Tools of the Trades. In the first chapter, the author introduces the concept of influence and discusses the power of using various tools to persuade others. The author highlights the importance of understanding the psychology behind influence and the 6 universal principles that guide human behavior. These principles include reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and social proof. The author also discusses the concept of power and how it can be used to influence others. The author highlights that there are 6 sources of power: reward, coercion, legitimate, referent, expert, and informational. The author provides examples of how each source of power can be used to influence others. One of the key takeaways from this chapter is that influence is a powerful tool, and by understanding the principles and sources of power, we can become more skilled at influencing others. However, it is important to use these tools ethically and for the greater good. The author emphasizes that the ultimate goal of influence should be to create positive change and benefit society. Chapter 2. Reciprocation, the old give and take. In the second chapter, the author discusses the concept of reciprocation and how it can be used as a tool of influence. The author explains that the principle of reciprocation is based on the idea that we feel obligated to give back to someone who has given something to us. This principle is deeply ingrained in human behavior and is present in almost every culture around the world. The author provides several examples of how reciprocation can be used to influence others. For instance, the author discusses how waiters and waitresses will often give customers a mint after their meal, which leads to higher tips. The author further explains how charities use the principle of reciprocation by giving small gifts to potential donors, which often results in larger donations. The author also highlights the importance of being aware of the potential negative consequences of reciprocation. For example, accepting a small favor or gift from someone can make it more difficult to say no to a larger request in the future. This can be used in manipulative ways, such as when salespeople give a small gift or free sample to potential customers before asking for a larger purchase. One of the key takeaways from this chapter is that reciprocation can be a powerful tool of influence, but it is important to use it ethically and avoid manipulative tactics. By being aware of the principle of reciprocation and how it works, we can be more effective at using it in a positive way to build relationships and create goodwill. Chapter 3. Liking, the Friendly Thief. In Chapter 3, Cialdini explains the power of liking and influencing others. He argues that people are more likely to be influenced by individuals they like, regardless of the message or request being made. One way to increase likability is through physical attractiveness, but more importantly, people tend to like those who are similar to them or who pay them compliments. A salesperson who can establish common interests with a customer is more likely to close a deal. Additionally, Cialdini suggests that people are more likely to comply with requests from individuals they like. In fact, people may feel obligated to comply with a request from someone they like, even if it goes against their own interests. Finally, Cialdini emphasizes the importance of building and maintaining relationships in business and personal life. People are more likely to help those they have established a relationship with, and this can lead to long-term benefits for both parties. Before we continue, we would like to inform you that we release these summaries in audio format on Spotify before we release them on YouTube in video format, with subtitles. We have also created a goldmine of information which you can get exclusive access to by supporting us on Patreon. You get in-depth summaries plus scripts, usually twice the length of our YouTube content, a list of the top 20 key takeaways and exercises, summary requests, and more. Thank you for the support and don't forget to hit the like button. Chapter 4. Social Proof, Truths Are Us. In Chapter 4, Cialdini discusses the power of social proof, or the tendency of people to conform to the actions and opinions of others. He argues that people often use the actions of others to guide their own behavior, especially in ambiguous situations. Cialdini cites several examples of social proof, such as the popularity of laugh tracks in TV shows and the influence of hotel guests' behavior on energy conservation. He also highlights the importance of peer pressure in shaping behavior, citing studies that show people are more likely to smoke, litter, or vote when they see others doing the same. Social proof can be used to influence behavior by highlighting the actions of others, such as testimonials or reviews. Cialdini suggests that businesses and organizations can benefit from demonstrating that their products or services are popular or widely used. However, social proof can also be used to reduce negative behaviors, such as publicizing the low rate of littering in a particular area to discourage littering. Finally, Cialdini warns that social proof can lead to dangerous behaviors, such as mob mentality or blindly following the actions of others without considering the consequences. He encourages individuals to be aware of their susceptibility to social proof and to think critically about the actions of others before following them. Chapter 5. Authority, Directed Deference. In Chapter 5, the concept of authority is explored. This chapter discusses how people are more likely to comply with requests or follow directions when they perceive the person making the request as an authority figure. There are three main factors that contribute to the perception of authority: titles, clothing, and trappings. Titles such as doctor, professor, or manager can significantly influence people's behavior. When someone with a title makes a request, others are more likely to comply because they believe that the individual is knowledgeable and competent. To utilize this principle, it's essential to establish your credibility and expertise upfront when trying to persuade someone. Clothing also plays a role in the perception of authority. Uniforms or professional attire can create an impression of expertise, trustworthiness, and power. By dressing in a way that signals authority, you can increase your persuasive ability. However, it's important to be cautious not to misuse this strategy, as it could lead to manipulative or unethical behavior. Trappings are the symbols associated with authority, such as badges, diplomas, or expensive accessories. These symbols can help to reinforce the perception of authority, but they should be used with discretion. Overusing trappings may cause others to perceive you as inauthentic or pretentious. Understanding the power of authority and how to use it ethically is crucial in persuading and influencing others. By being aware of these factors and applying them appropriately, you can enhance your ability to lead and make persuasive arguments. Chapter 6. Scarcity, the Rule of the Few. Chapter 6 delves into the scarcity principle, which highlights the human tendency to value items or opportunities more when they are perceived as scarce or limited. This psychological phenomenon occurs because people associate scarcity with higher quality, exclusivity, and urgency. To make use of this principle in persuasion, emphasize the limited availability of a product, service, or opportunity. By creating a sense of scarcity, you can increase the perceived value and desirability of the offering. Examples of scarcity tactics include limited time offers, exclusive deals, and low stock warnings. However, it's crucial to be authentic when applying the scarcity principle. Artificially creating a sense of scarcity can lead to mistrust and damage your credibility. Be transparent about the reasons behind the scarcity and ensure that the limitations are genuine. Another aspect of scarcity is the fear of missing out, FOMO. This emotional response can drive people to act quickly to avoid the negative feeling of missing out on a valuable opportunity. To leverage FOMO, highlight the potential regret someone may experience if they don't take advantage of your offer. Share testimonials or examples of others who have benefited from the opportunity to further amplify the effect. By understanding the power of scarcity and using it ethically, you can create persuasive messages that motivate people to take action. However, Always ensure that your claims are authentic and truthful to maintain trust and credibility with your audience. Chapter 9. Instant Influence, Primitive Consent for an Automatic Age. In Chapter 9, the concept of instant influence is examined. This chapter discusses how the fast-paced, information-rich world we live in has led to the development of automatic responses, which can be exploited for persuasion purposes. Cialdini refers to these automatic responses as click-or reactions, as they often bypass conscious thought and lead to immediate action. The chapter highlights the importance of understanding these automatic triggers and their potential ethical implications. When used ethically, these triggers can be powerful tools for persuasion and influence. However, they can also be misused to manipulate others and take advantage of their natural cognitive shortcuts. One key takeaway from this chapter is the importance of being vigilant against manipulation. By understanding the triggers that lead to automatic responses, individuals can protect themselves from being unduly influenced by those who seek to exploit these mechanisms. For example, by recognizing the tactics of a salesperson who uses scarcity or social proof to create urgency, one can resist the temptation to make an impulsive purchase. In addition to self-protection, understanding instant influence principles can help create more effective persuasive arguments and strategies. By incorporating these principles into your communication, you can increase your influence and persuade others more effectively, as long as you use them ethically and responsibly. Conclusion. The Conclusion of Influence by Robert Cialdini emphasizes the significance of the principles discussed throughout the book and the importance of using them ethically. These principles, reciprocity, liking, social proof, authority, scarcity, commitment and consistency, and unity, are powerful tools that can be used to persuade others effectively. However, they also hold the potential for manipulation and exploitation. Cialdini encourages readers to use these principles ethically and responsibly to foster genuine connections, trust, and rapport with others. He also emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and the need to be vigilant against manipulative tactics that may exploit our natural psychological tendencies. By understanding and applying the principles of influence, readers can enhance their persuasive abilities and communication skills, creating more meaningful relationships and interactions with others. The key to success is using these principles in an ethical and responsible manner, ensuring that influence is used to benefit all parties involved and not just for personal gain.